Hey guys, Sharpend here. In this video I'm going to show you how to turn metallic Foley into future garage rhythmic patterns. Here's the original drum loop. And here's the same loop with the metallic patterns together. So this video is based on a request that I got recently about making the metallic patterns that you hear in a lot of future garage drum loops. And in this video I've decided to split it into a couple of different parts so we can get through each one so you get a full drum loop instead of just the metallic element. So to start, you're looking for a basic drum kit, so a kick, a rim shot, and a few hi-hats. And then you want to create a really basic pattern. We have our kick and rim shot here. And then we have our hi-hat pattern. I've covered in a previous video how you can make these future garage hi-hat patterns, so if you're looking for that, go check it out. And then what you want to do is to find your metallic sound. So in order to do that, the best option is to go out and record metallic sounds. So even if you don't have a microphone, just use your phone in a really quiet room and it will be just fine. I suggest recording things like chains, keys, tambourines. If you have any child toys that are metallic, anything that's metallic will work just fine. And you're looking for recordings that barely move the metallic element, so that you get just like mostly clicks. So in this video I've recorded some metal chain and some tambourine. And here's, for example, the original tambourine recording. So as you can see, it's really quiet, and then you have some loud parts. So if you ignore the loud parts and just normalize the quiet parts, you get something that's way more clicky. It's also a lot more noisy, so just look for the right volume. You're looking for something that's not too quiet but not too loud. So for example, this part. And then once you normalize these parts, you get like really clicky sounds that are great for what we're looking for here. So that's what I've done. I've taken the metal chain and the tambourine recordings after I've normalized the tambourine recordings, and then I've put them into our drum loop. So the first thing I did is I just took two different samples and just put them and play them. It doesn't sound way too rhythmic, so in order to add some rhythm to it, I've just added a few volume automations. So that way we can accentuate different parts. Like for example, here I'm building up the volume until we reach the rim shot, and then it drops and goes back up again. So as you can hear, using these volume envelopes, I can create a lot of additional motion compared to the mess that we hear without them, which can still sound nice, but if you're looking for something more controlled, then definitely go ahead and use some volume envelopes. And then as for the tambourine, all I've done is just repitched it downwards so that it sounds a bit less bright. Here's the original sound, and here's how it is now. And as you can see in the tambourine, I've decided to not use too much volume envelopes. I've only used this one, which just allows some breathing space after the second rim shot here, since we have no hi-hats there, so I wanted to accentuate the stop. And in the tambourine sample, I've basically just went ahead and added a lot of sidechain. So every time the kick hits, you get a lot of sidechain, which sort of like replaces the role of the volume envelopes here. So let's hear that. As you can see, every time a kick or a rim shot hits, the tambourine sample just ducks, which really just replaces the volume envelopes in a less sophisticated way. So then I've decided to add a bunch of effects to the tambourine. I've added some EQ that removes the low mids and boosts the highs, and some delay. It's on ping pong mode and the feedback is not too low. It adds a lot of sustain to your sample, since it's very clicky. So the more you add delay, it's going to sound less clicky and more like a lot of tambourines playing together, since they start repeating each other, which can be great if you're looking for a more consistent sound, which is what I'm looking for. And then as for our metal chain, I've added a lot more effects. I've added some transient shapers that just increase the attack so that we get more clickiness, and reduce the release so that it's less sustained, it's more focused on the clicks. Then I've added a compressor that is going to just like squash it so that the clicks aren't too loud compared to the rest of the recording. And then just some auto pan that goes from the left ear to the right ear all of the time, and again some compression, but here it is a bit more subtle than compared to the tambourine, since we have a volume envelope already. And also, if you're wondering, here's how the metal chain looks like after the volume automation, which looks a lot more clean, and it also looks rhythmic, so that's a great way to see how that can affect your sound. So then altogether we have this thing, which already sounds great, and once you add the kick and the rimshot sidechain, you get a very cool sound. You get a way more accentuated drum loop, and then you can add your hi-hats as well. Let's just hear them without melodic content. And you can also add some additional white noise. I've decided to add some rain recording that is just being heavily sidechained as well. And then if you're looking to add some more metallic elements into your drums, you can just go into your recordings and just normalize a tiny section and look for a sample that you like this one for example. Then cut it up, increase its volume, and just make it into sort of like a one shot of a hi-hat sample. Then you can load it up into a drum sampler and just replace your hi-hat pattern with the metallic hits into a new pattern. And that way you can get really interesting results. So in the original drum kit we had these hi-hats, and then in the new one we get these metallic tambourine hi-hats that can sound really interesting and unique as well. So altogether we can get something like this compared to regular hi-hats, and you can of course combine the both of them together. Then one last thing that I suggest doing is that because we're using a lot of metallic elements, and that can get really clicky and just put in a lot of high frequency content into the tracks, you can also go ahead and just compress your high end. So use a multiband compressor and just really compress the high frequencies so that the hi-hats and all of the metallic clicks aren't too obnoxious, since usually Future Garage is very calm and ambient, so you're not looking for really harsh high frequencies. You can also solve this in the mastering process, but I think that if you just solve it inside your drum group, you can solve a lot of problems later and save that high frequency content for leads and other stuff. So here's how it would sound without the compression, and here's how it sounds with it. A lot more lo-fi and calm, and altogether it just sounds great with a bass and an atmosphere as well, compared to this. And that is pretty much it. Check the description below for a download link of the tambourine recording featured in this video. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what subject do you want me to cover up next time.